Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Bobnack. Welcome to Who's Mailing What? And today I'm talking with Russell Kern. He is the CEO and founder of KERN, an Omnicom company. Before we get started, keep in mind that you can join our conversation by commenting below. Show your support for our videos by tapping the like button. And to get notified of when we add new videos, click on subscribe. Now let's meet today's guest. Welcome, Russell. Thanks for being here today.
My pleasure.
Cool. Well, let's start by talking about your background, how you got involved with direct mail, started your agency, and then what your role involves today as the CEO.
No problem. So I started my love of direct response when I was very young with my father, many decades ago. And we used to look at the New York Times Magazine when it was printed. And in the back, there were these little classified ads. And we talk about mail order advertising. And I also was a big fan of Joe Sugarman and the Spud Gun and how he made $1 million in mail order. And I just was always attracted to mail order marketing. When I graduated UCLA, I got a job at Needham Harper & Steers. And I was a student of the craft of direct response marketing, whether it be Ogilvy or Stone or Caples or Cobb's or Throckmorton. And so I was self-student. I read all the DMA guides and notebooks and that sort of thing. And so I was appointed, or anointed, I should say, as the direct marketing person in this agency called Needham Harper & Steers. And the very first project I worked on when I was brand new was a mailer for Kubota tractors, and it was a lead generation piece. And it was beautifully done. It was all their tractors, glossy piece, self-mailer. You know, I was just the young account executive, and we mailed it out to the audience. And then the client calls me and says, Russell, I'm getting these replies, but nobody could write their name on it. They're having to scratch their name on it. I said, oh my God, Pat. Oh, I know. The art director made it so shiny, he put gloss varnish all over the reply, you couldn't write your name on the BRC. And so that was my first introduction to direct mail and all the things that go wrong. And I have always been a fan of, well, direct response and the channel of direct mail ever since then. So that's now 40 years. I probably have at least 1 billion packages of experience, well over 25,000 tests, observations, and have a fair amount of experience in this channel and other channels as well. Wow,
that's pretty impressive. I guess that also speaks to having like a really thorough checklist of.
Yeah, so I teach the team there are more ways to goof up direct mail than there are to do it right.
Yeah.
It's a very expensive channel when you make a mistake, unlike email where, oh, I could resend or fix. But when you make a mistake in the mail at any one of the phases, it's painful. And there's not a lot of training going on in mail these days in terms of fundamentals, how to do it, the nuance of it all, whether it be from the data processing, the analytics, the targeting, the cleanup, the creative, the design, the offer, all those elements that come into a mail package, and understanding the risk trade-offs from envelope to inside. I don't think many people are talking or teaching about it.
No, but there's great opportunities there because of that too.
Yes.
For the people who do know, then we'll keep that a secret. Like
we'll keep them. Well, let's try to, maybe we'll help them on this webinar and on this podcast, how to teach them a few techniques.
That sounds good to me. So what kind of services does KERN offer to marketers today?
So KERN is committed to driving revenue, continuous revenue through direct response. So we offer all forms of life cycle marketing, from customer acquisition to customer retention to customer win back to upsell, cross-sell in all channels, television, digital, email, direct mail, insert media. So all direct response channels, but it's all focused around performance marketing. We are hardcore deliver or die kind of marketers. And we work with large Fortune 500 companies, even Fortune 100 are most of our clients, AT&T, American Express, DirecTV. So we do large volume at scale with speed and high accuracy to drive revenue.
Awesome. I noticed on your website that you highlight and talk a lot about neuromarketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you talk about how this approach to marketing can help guide a client's direct mail campaign?
Yeah. So I learned from one of my dear friends and mentors, Bob Hacker, that marketing is manipulating people without getting caught. You know, and Bob's got a very funny sense of humor. But what he was really saying is marketing is about psychology. It's the psychology of how do you move someone to action. And we as direct marketers have the most difficult job of all the marketing tasks, because we have to have someone who's not paying attention stop, pay attention, and take an action. So neuromarketing and the neurosciences is understanding what drives and creates sales persuasion and action, and understanding that we have a primitive brain and a rational brain, and the primitive brain provides uncontrolled release of dopamine when it's positively stimulated, and works really hard to save glucose or energy until it needs to burn energy. And so the understanding neuromarketing and the neurosciences helps to increase the effectiveness of your communication, awaken the reptilian brain, the primitive brain, and understand how to use color, tone, contrast, emotion to create maximum consideration by the rational brain of your message. So it's a piece of, and again, there's 4 parts that make it up, from economic behavior processes to neuropsychology and evolutionary biology. So it's a complex topic, but the methods that we teach and train are relatively simple to understand, a little harder to execute, but very important.
Right. It reminds me of a quote from Bob Hacker talking about the 7 emotional copy drivers, which can also be applied as well to other elements like imagery and graphics as well, which is guilt, flattery, anger, greed, exclusivity, fear, and salvation. And he said that if your copy isn't dripping with one or more of these, tear it up and start all over again.
Right. So the interesting part is, so from David Ogilvy to Bob Hacker, and Denny Hatt, we all have all these rules. But now the rules make sense, because when they're not dripping with emotion, the primal brain is not engaged in releasing dopamine or one of its hormones that has the rational brain to consider. And so now you understand, well, that's the science of it all. It's not just because you should use emotion, it's because emotion is what stimulates this reptilian brain. That's an automatic release.
Right.
And when you think about it, it's why when you're going down the aisles of Costco or a supermarket, so many things jump off the shelf and into your cart. I know I'm in Costco. Next thing I know, I got 4 dozen sets of golf balls. I don't know how they ended up there. I went there to get, chicken. So we have to understand we're irrational decision makers, and that irrationality is stimulated through emotion. That's one of the ways of which it's stimulated.
And, I'd point out too that in 2 studies that were done by Temple University, they specifically proved that different areas of the brain are activated that way.
Oh, yeah. The brain, there is, so even, in neuroscience, we are now able to use MRI, and we're actually see what we light up and what we don't light up. We understand what sections work. So that there's 30 years of scientific research in the neurosciences of what is stimulated. The interesting piece for the direct marketer is that we're a copy-heavy medium. Our old school fathers always talked about copy. However, copy requires our rational brain, our new brain, to process and think and use a lot of energy. And we don't want to use energy until we have to. And so there's this very interesting balance of how do I awaken the primal brain to tell the rational brain, read all this copy. I know it's a lot of work, but how do I get the eyes to start reading? And so remember, one of the famous techniques of direct mail is the first sentence is 5 to 7, the waterfall, right? The first sentence is 5 to 7 words. The second sentence is 8 to 10 words. Then you have a paragraph. So you've now made it easy to on-ramp into the reading process. And so the visual presentation of the words is crucial and has always been crucial. And it's why old school direct marketing worked, because when you have call out or red subheads and bold areas and interrupters, you're allowing the eye to see these visual identifiers that say, this could be relevant for me, now let's pay attention. And we see in 14 milliseconds, which is 100 times faster, 10 times faster than we blink our eye. And our eye is connected to our visual cortex and our primal brain. And so old school technique, all that interruption and all the rest of that, it was effective for that reason. Now what you struggle with is you have many brand managers. I want it pretty. I want it aligned. I want it all justified. I want it all brand centric. And you know what? That mail sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as high performing. And so now you have to educate your clients on why you have these. I even know AT&T, we had to fight for a long time. Why do we have interrupted colors of red or orange or yellow? Because of the visual stimulation that is required to have someone now pay attention to the word. Probably a lot more than you wanted to know, but that's why.
I think it's endlessly fascinating. And like you said, I think that the audience out there could certainly need to know that.
It's if you're designing mail, you need to understand that you're not, unlike television, word is important, but how do you get the eye to read the word? And that you cannot underestimate the importance of the visual presentation of the words as part of the way to awaken the primal brain and gain the rational brain to start to read the great oozy copy, emotional copy.
Right. Well, related to that, what are some specific way marketers can use the power of print and all of its capabilities to get the most from neuromarketing? I'm thinking of, like, besides, visual texture.
Yeah, I think let's turn that question around. How do you use neuromarketing to get the most from print? Let's flip the question around.
Sounds good. So
there are 6 major stimuli of the primal brain. One is eucentricity. What's in it for me? Another famous Bob Hacker.
Absolutely.
What's in it for me? God
That's
love him. Contrast, black and white, new versus old. That's why comparison tables are extremely effective. You have in print texture, tactile. It's the only channel we have which is tactile, of awakening one of the senses that isn't used, bumpy, lumpy, all that sort of stuff. You have also tangible. So that touching it's real, it's physical. It can do things. In print, we can have things pop up, we can have things unfold. And so every time we get that involvement of the real, especially in, say, direct mail, or where things are unfolding and there's pieces and multiple elements, that's giving us time of consideration. Of course, emotionality and how it's presented, and through story and through picture would be it. I might be missing one more, but those are the major ones.
Well, marketers and brands today know, or should know, the value of personalization in direct mail and direct response. What are some good practices to make mail more relevant to a target audience with personalization?
So I think the key thing is, when we talk about personalization, we have to remember the word that you used, relevancy. It used to be a big deal. Oh, we could say, hi, Russell. Hi, Paul. Oh, that was like a huge deal.
Yep.
But when you look at relevancy today, relevancy in the mail that I'm getting is directly to the amount of credit line that's available, limits that are there, the truck that I'm driving for Sirius that I now, have a 3-month trial on. And so it's not about personalization, it's about relevancy. And so how do they use it? They need to use data that makes their message be exactly of importance to the person they're delivering. And the best example is I just got a new truck. I had a free trial of Sirius XM radio, and they have been on me and very clear in their mail. Your Chevrolet truck expires July 11th. this is your serial number, this is your truck type, this is your story. If you miss this opportunity, your price will double. And then what I loved about them, and what I love is that QR codes now work.
Yeah,
like 10,
exactly.
5 years ago, they didn't work worth a bean.
No,
but now they are so good. It's like, okay, boom. I took my phone. I didn't have to call, email. And so we really have a blessing of a new technology that can make mail work in a way and simpler to respond than we've ever had before in our whole time. So I think we're talking about, that's how I like to see what I call relevancy. What I know that doesn't work is showing photos of lifestyle. You know, oh, we're talking to the family and I show a photo of a family. Nah, I've never seen that type of relevancy work. Mm-hmm. It has to be gutty, gritty, specific, hardcore, high relevancy mm-hmm. to a pain or a gain.
Right. So let's talk about B2B marketing. What does that look like today, considering we've had so many disruptions in so many industries, both from technology and from the pandemic and other things going on?
So I don't know what's the most interesting difference to me in B2B is nobody's at their office, mm-hmm. right? Okay. So it used to be we could mail to your office, and I don't know. So now the question is, where are you? The other issue we have is, how do I get you? If I want to send you email, unless I've got you as a subscriber, your spam filters in B2B companies are so good, you're not getting delivery. And so I think the biggest task in B2B is what channel gets delivered. The second aspect of B2B, which I don't think affects anything from the pandemic, is allowing the person to enter the funnel at the place they want to enter. Mm-hmm. That you have enough content over the buyer's journey from top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, that depending upon where I am in my shopping behavior, you're there for me. As a matter of fact, today I was looking for a sales email system, a sales CRM system. I had never heard of this company. They gave me a little introduction. Then they offered me pricing. Then all of a sudden they offered me to set up a demo. I was able to do it easy. And so within 10 minutes, they walked me through all the way the journey to demo, deep funnel. But they gave on their website all the content necessary to help move me through pretty rapidly. So I think the fundamentals of B2B stay, they haven't changed. I do think the buying methods are more complicated than they've ever been. I think you have to remember there's a lot of group decision making. And so in B2B, it's really important to understand who is involved, what is the team, who is the influencers, who's the final decision maker. And the other issue is the importance of the purchase today, given the headwinds that we see in the news out there. You know, is this a must-have purchase? Is the recession going to hold it off? What's happening there? And how am I getting through? So it's a really complex topic in B2B, but I hope that gives a beginning overview of the area.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for direct mail especially, it's a very tricky environment. And like you said, it's just very questionable right now how to use it well with all these variables.
You have to, I mean, I don't think any of our B2B clients are deep into it like we used to be. I think we're definitely email heavy, digitally heavy, banner heavy, all sorts of site takeover oriented. And it's still in B2B, it's about the content. Mm-hmm. It really is, because if you have the content and you have a good search program also, the researcher will find you. The buyer will find you. But if you don't attract that, if you don't have the right bait, you're not going to catch the right fish.
Yeah, and I think there's also an opportunity there for programmatic mail, retargeting mail to pick up web browsers, for instance, who may be, in a buying position for their business, and then reach out to them with a direct mail campaign.
Yeah, there is that. If you're able to identify the home and have that. So I know there is that level of sophistication out there. We're not using it because most of our work right now is in the B2C space, but it's a nice thing to do. Mail works as long as it's delivered, right? The famous rule of mail, again, taught by my great mentor, is 30% of your success is targeting. 30% is the reason to respond, the offer. 20% is the creative communication, and 20% is the cost. So if you miss the target, you have 100% cost and no response. And so you can never overestimate the importance of the quality of the data and the deliverability of your mail, because it's such an expensive channel.
Mm-hmm. So talking more generally, what is the best value proposition for direct mail? Why does it still work so well today?
So mail is the only channel that allows you to tell a long sales story. And I don't mean the only channel, but it's your salesperson in print. Mm-hmm. Mail works when you have the right combination of elements. And if you don't, mail does not work. I mean, there's no guarantee mail will work. Right. But you have to have the right fundamentals. But when it does work in a consumer environment, because so many people are home and working from home, that means mail can be delivered to the house and people are standing over the trash can and making a decision in milliseconds, am I keeping or not keeping? So when they get the keep and they look, if it's relevant, back to the relevancy, or it creates desire, or it touches one of their nerves, they have plenty of time to make the study and purchase behavior, and it gives them all the information they need. Now, the art is how much information to deliver to make the action required. Sometimes the argument is hardly give them anything, because if you give them everything, you won't get the call to action you need. On the other hand is in catalog mail, those pictures are the most beautiful pictures, the most descriptive copy to drive the purchase behavior. And so I don't think I think you have to understand its use and strategy. The other thing about mail that's so important is the mailing surface or the envelope. 100% of your investment sits on the mailing surface of your mail until it's opened. And you can either say, I'm going to make it highly promotional with wowie zowie graphic and creative, or I'm going to say nothing. Mm-hmm. Our best controls are blind, because curiosity is the number one motivator of, I don't want to throw something away that could be of value to me.
Interesting.
So you have to, and then all your risk transfers to the inside components of your mail. And so you really need to ask yourself is, what am I doing to get it open? Whether it's a self-mailer or a letter pack, I'm a huge fan of letter packs, but how much risk is in the envelope design? Mm-hmm. And how much time we spend in the inside components versus thinking through, okay, I need an incredible envelope. What technique? And I think this is where who mailing what is so important, is because there are so many great mailers that have, the credit card mailers are some of the best, have so many clever technique to drive opening, whether it's lumpy or die cut or window peak or size or what craft or whatever,
texture, right.
Texture, you name color. It, fold, snap pack. That's the creativity that's part of mail. That's not, an email is going to be an email. You don't get a lot of variation in that regard. So you get to play in an environment, but it's not for the faint of heart. That's for sure.
It's not very forgiving.
It's not forgiving. Yep. It's not forgiving.
Yeah. So what trends do you see unfolding in direct mail for the next rest of this year into next year?
So what I see is pressure on mail given postal increases and rising in paper cost and everything. That trend is going to continue to put pressure on it. Yeah. What it means is I'm going to have to use mail for when it really matters, meaning a high value relationship with a high propensity to convert. I don't know whether I'll be able to use it for large scale, low cost prospecting, customer acquisition. I think you're going to see the pressure of, I really need an engaged individual before I put that piece of mail to you. And I really need to know where you are. So I think mail is going to be under pressure. And the other thing with mail is it's not very sexy.
Mhm.
And so a lot of marketers don't want to use it. There's pressure that it's not ecologically positive, even with recycled paper. There's some environmental concerns. So I think mail's under pressure. The negative news about the post office and its inefficiencies is under pressure. But when used right, it's a powerhouse.
Yep, really agree. Well, that's a great place to end our discussion today. Thank you again.
You're
and
welcome.
how can people find out more about Kern for a possible consultation or a partnership?
Yeah, I would say just go to the agency. It's kernagency.com. That's the website. You can always email me, russell@kernagency.com. You can call me, 818-264-8480, any of those three things. But I love direct response in all channels. I love mail. Some people say I bleed postal glue. So if you've got mail, if you got a question, you want to talk about it, my goal is to help you succeed, whether you work with us or not. I love teaching. I love sharing knowledge. So yeah, just reach out to us.
Awesome. Well, thank you again.
You're welcome.
And thank all of you out there for joining us today. Remember that you can join our conversation at any time by commenting in the box below. Show your support by tapping the like button and click on subscribe to be notified of new videos. If you're interested in being featured in a future Meet the Mailers, I'd love to hear from you. My contact info can be found in the paragraph below by tapping Show More. Thanks again for watching Meet the Mailers. Thank you, Russell,
You're
and
welcome.
see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks so much.